Welcome back, y'all, and happy Friday. Today, we're going to be breaking down Tennessee's quarterback competition. I want to start off inside the film room with Jake and with George in our orange and white game. And I know that you can't take everything away from the spring games, but we've watched them so closely. We understand what their skill set is. So this is just to show you the most recent look at them and why we think what we think. That's really what we're using this for. We're also going to be looking at Joey Aguilar. At the end, I'm going to give y'all some video game-like grades for all these players and show you where the strengths and weaknesses are with everybody and talk about who is the best, from top to bottom, just based off of our grades. As always, y'all, please do us a very big favor. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. And we are going to get started. So I just want for everyone to know that, man, look, this is the most realistic look that you're going to get at our players. We understand Tennessee's system. We know these players on a really, really high level. We've watched a ton of film on them. So, if you hear some other people saying different things, it's probably not based off of what Tennessee's system looks like. But we're going to start off with GMAC. Okay, so this is him inside of our orange and white game. That was an accurate pass. He gets out of the pocket. That's where the play started at. That's why it looks this way. So on this next one, I wanted to put this in here because this is a bad snap. This is not on George, but because he is going to be the tallest guy, he's 6'6". Sometimes things like this could be an issue. He's going to have to get some low snaps sometimes. So it's just a small thing that I wanted to make sure that we did throw into this film session. But let's take a look at this next one and let's see. Okay, so first and foremost, you see that the play is getting changed. I don't know how they know that the coach wants to change the play, especially inside of a loud stadium. Are the coaches whistling or what? But I wanted to put this in there too because for me, the biggest thing that all Tennessee fans should be very optimistic with for our offense is the scheme change. Seeing this route combination where we've got two crossing patterns on some shallow drags, right? And then we've got the running back floating out to the flats coming out of the backfield, and then we're running everything off on the outside. See, this right here is a quarterback. This is an offense's best friend, from the offensive line to the quarterback to the running backs to the wide receivers, because it's simple stuff. It's easy. The offense, too, this is something else that I definitely have to point out. Tennessee's offensive system, it is very, very basic. We'll talk about that some more once we get done with the whole film session, but it is pretty basic. Adding this stuff in here, it's not difficult. It's just more friendly because of the route combination. So this, I think, is going to be the biggest thing that makes the offense maybe a little bit better than it was last season. All we need to do is just be able to operate. So right here, what we're seeing is GMAC is going through his reads, and he missed the guy. He missed the running back coming out of the backfield, going to the flats. But, he decides to run. This is a 1-2. Hey, those first two reads aren't there. You need to be running. That's how this offense works. And we'll see that some more as we're going, throughout. So obviously that's just a quick screen to the wide receiver. Tennessee does that all the time based off of the run pass option. Now, right here, we've got an actual, we've got some real route concepts here, okay? So we've got two people who are open. There's the underneath guy that George could have thrown it to. Then we've got the guy that's on top of that. They could have scored a touchdown wide open. You see all that, open area in the middle of the field, but George decides to kind of scramble out right here. He misses that. So things like that will happen. This is something that I think that by the time the season actually kicks off, he's going to be better with this stuff. He's going to see the reads a lot more because you break down the film so much, right? Like these coaches, they're really teaching these guys. So that's something that I'm looking forward to with George. I think that he's going to get better at it. So here, play gets changed. This is another RPO. Throw it out to the flats quick. And yeah, that looks pretty simple, pretty basic. But what you got to understand is that that's a big deal inside of our offense. You got to be able to have that quick, touch and all things like that. But this next one here, okay, we've got a guy that's actually running open. You see that little spot that I have highlighted in blue? We could have thrown it there. That probably would have been the easier throw. That would have been 6. But right here, George decides to throw it in a much smaller window, much tighter window, but it's a perfectly thrown pass, right? Like there's two guys there. But see, this is, again, like the processing thing. I don't want to harp too much on processing because the processing part is built into the offensive scheme. So it's not a big deal. But seeing that, hey, man, he could have had an easier throw here. Yeah, that does say something. But also the simple fact that he could flick his wrist and throw passes like this, these are the glimpses of what his ceiling is, right? So this is why I'm really, really high on George. So here, this play, we caught the tail end of it, kind of like it's the play's already started. But what I'm showing here is that this is a slant. This is something that Tennessee didn't do a ton of last year, right? It's going to a slot wide receiver. I think it might be a tight end that's flexed out, but there's a lot of space here. So GMAC makes the right read. This is, again, just very simple pitch and catch. You also see now in this orange and white game, one of the things that I will kind of point to is that there's not a whole lot of, like, you're not going to try to kill your teammates. So, yeah, you're going to thump. Obviously, the quarterbacks aren't going to be live. The guys that are in yellow, like on their previous play, and actually I will go back to it. But, yeah, you see that this is a guy that's in yellow. You can't hit him, Right. That's what that yellow is for. So people are maybe throttling things down, but I think that in a real live situation, that play would have been open. So I'm just kind of showing you some of the process and stuff. Here, you're seeing how good GMAC's pocket presence is. Does a good job of stepping up. He's able to get outside of that pressure. Now he does have a guy that's open here. This is a tough throw. It's not easy. I would say that a lot of SEC quarterbacks, like quarterbacks on this level, you're going to ask them if this is like a third and long situation. You got to be able to make these types of throws. Now, would George try to make this throw if it's a live game? Maybe. We don't know. That's, again, going back to the spring game part of it. You don't really know. But either way, he throws it out of bounds, which I don't hate. We didn't do a whole lot of that last season. We rarely ever threw the ball out of bounds. So I don't hate it. But yes, this is a place that I think that he could take a step forward with this game. All right. So going on to the next one here. I'd love to see things like this. Just dump it off to the freaking flats. You know what I'm saying? Like just it's some things that will get the linebackers to freeze some. You're going to have someone that's wide open, almost like a boot, but it is a sprint out. Almost same thing here. Now, what I love about this play with George is that he's got a guy he's got to throw this football over, and he just has very nice touch. Okay, this is that baller stuff that I'm always talking about. I would classify this as being a baller. There's a guy in your face. Now, that pass wasn't caught, but it was accurate. That one should have been caught. So here you're seeing pocket presence is really good to me because, like we talked about, it's 1-2. I need to start looking to run. So he's able to get that ball again, throw it out of bounds. He's able to buy himself some more time, throw it out of bounds. Now, here, what you're seeing is some pressure is coming from his right side, but he steps up into the pocket. Something that we didn't do a whole lot of last season, but I could tell that it's a very strong point of emphasis this year, just to work on the quarterback's pocket presence. So here you're seeing that he's looking over, he's keeping his eyes down the field as he's stepping up into the pocket, flicks his wrist, has a guy there, he falls down. Now, wide receivers have to make plays. That's why looking at quarterbacks, man, I mean, yeah, they're a big part of the offense, but they can only go as far as their playmakers and offensive line and everything else, really. So here, this is a read option. Reading this in, I think that's Jordan Ross. If he bites down, then GMAC keeps it, which, Jordan Ross does kind of bite down. This is actually, I think that George would have got tackled there. So that's a really good end, though. That's one of the best ends in the whole country. So you're seeing how his speed might translate. Obviously, Jordan's not going to hit him. But right here, you're seeing that he is mobile. I think that he would have actually gained those yards. That wasn't a situation where he would have been down. I don't think anyone would have got him prior to him getting it, 7 or 8 yards. So he eats up a whole lot of ground. Right here, man. Beautiful job on that crossing pattern. I'm going to actually go back to that. I don't want to spend too much time going back and forth on this stuff, but I want for y'all to understand how important it is to have wide receivers that are running some routes that cross the daggone field. It's not so much vertical. That's going to be big for us. Now here, good job on, again, you're going to fake that run. You're going to get outside of the pocket. He's got a guy right in his face. He's got to change his arm angle here. You're seeing he's throwing it sidearm, but he's got a player wide open. See, Tennessee just didn't do enough of this last season. So now that we're seeing it, even just in the orange and white game where things are very basic, I love to see it. So next play. All right, going through his reads. Now, this is one of those situations where the bottom side of this screen, we did a full film breakdown talking about how Tennessee's offense works with the choice routes. And typically, you're only reading one half of a field. This is one of those situations where it looks like we're only really reading one half. Now, there is some action going on up top. You see the guy that I have highlighted in yellow, right? So up there are some other route combos going on. So typically, if it's only one side that you're reading, the other side might just be totally dead. But on this one, it looks like we might just be reading one half. So I'm saying all those things just to say everything's covered up on that half. That backside guy looks like he is open, but I'm not quite sure if that was part of GMAC's actual reads within the choice routes that we have here. So he's going to throw this. He's going to throw it into coverage. And it's a good thing that it wasn't picked. But I think that he does a good job of keeping the ball pretty much out of harm's way. That shows you that he's not scared to throw it in coverage. You got to do that. So here you're seeing that he's looking things off, early off. Early on, he's looking to one side. Now he comes back to the other side. And going back to the option routes, how they work is if the secondary is playing off, then you're going to run something underneath. That's what's happening here. That's what George is waiting on, but this wide receiver never breaks it off for whatever reason. So he decides, well, I just got to make something happen with my legs. So that's what he's doing there. And I'd absolutely love to see that, right? Like you look things off or, whatever. You look over, you don't like how one half of the field looks, come back to the other half. It's not there. Now I'm running. So here, you're seeing it. These are how his reads look on this one. So this is, again, it's one half of the field, but now we have three people because we're flooding it. This is a sprint out. You see what his first read is. That's the guy that's on the sidelines. I think that he's probably open. You probably could have made that throw. Then you see where the second read's at, definitely not open. But then you have that third read where you can just dump it off. So this is giving the quarterbacks a lot more options. And yeah, why not? Just dump it off, because that's probably about what the number one wide receiver would have got on that play too. So I think that looks really good here. Okay, he's changing things up. Basically, what he sees is we got one-on-one coverage with no safety help, man. We switching it up. We about to go ahead and throw this. So I love to see that, right? He understands football. He understands, and this is basic stuff, man. Like, I think that if you can, operate offense on like a middle school level, then you can operate Tennessee's offense. It's pretty much it's that simple. But look, perfectly thrown pass to one of our freshmen. Okay, and this is an NFL catch. All right, this is a one-handed NFL catch on the sideline because he gets in a foot and a knee. That counts as 2 feet. So, yeah, love that. You have to feel good about it. Now we've got another one of these plays where this is a read option. You're looking at the end. Will he bite on this run from the running back? If he does, I'm going to keep it. Now, in this situation, I think he probably would have got tackled. You're seeing he just gets back to the line of scrimmage. But I don't think that he was really sprinting because he knows, hey, I'm not live anyway. Maybe, you know what I'm saying? I know that he's got some good wheels. I think that in a lot of situations, he could probably get to that edge. But it's more of just the quarterback having a threat that they can use their legs inside the Tennessee system. Right here, what I love about George, and we're also going to see it some with Jake, is that they really carry out fakes whenever they need to. They hold the fake long, you know what I'm saying? They're going to ride it all the way out. Because, see, this is a pop pass going to our tight end that's faking like he's blocking. We're selling the run hard. Now that opens up that tight end to make this catch. Very easy pitch and catch. You know what I'm saying? So this right here is Jake. You know what I'm saying? Now we're starting off with Jake. And on this first one, this is just a wide receiver quick screen. For some reason, George doesn't. I'm sorry, not George, but Jake doesn't do the best job with these passes. See how low this is. Now you would probably rather it be too low, and the wide receiver can't make the catch, but also maybe the defense can't pick six it because those passes can be dangerous. He's got to get that up because that is a routine deal inside the Tennessee system. Now, right here, Jake is going to be looking at this block. So, I'm sorry, that's not a fly. This was a play that was set up like a wide receiver quick screen. So the guy that's blocking, looks like that might be a tight end. He's going to fake like he's blocking and he's going to try to run a route. But you're seeing, now I think that might be William Wright doing a hell of a job here. He's going to hold him up. So now the tight end's falling. He's stumbling. So now what should have been a very, very quick play that would have got us a lot of yards, potentially could have scored on this, right? Now the pocket closes in, and now we're taking sacks. This is not on Jake. This is not on Jake. This is why you need to have some really good playmakers on the outside, because inside of our system, it's 1-2 reads for the most part. If that's not there, it's really nothing else there, all right? So now we're seeing that the plays getting changed. I just wanted to show y'all how they look. You know what I'm saying? Just show you how they look whenever that play is coming in. They don't really have to say anything to anybody because everyone's getting these plays. So here, what we have is a comeback. I think that this is Travis Smith, and Jake's going to try to wait for him to get into his break. It takes him way too long. Okay, this is taking way too long. So at this point, Jackson Moy, him and Bryson Easton were running a stunt. I think that's going to be big for Tennessee's defense. But either way, I think that Jackson would have had the sack right here. We might have talked about this on a previous video, but probably would have had the sack. Okay, of course he's going to let up. Now we're making a throw. I love the way that this football is layered. It's layered over this linebacker here. Okay, and it's thrown into a really, really good spot. Wide receiver was able to get up the field and make a few things happen. Now they're not tackling. So, but I think that Travis Smith is a dog. He probably would have ran through that anyway. So on this next one, I think this one, no, it's not this one yet. So here, what we have from Jake is he's looking over here, right? He's looking over, obviously all that's covered up, right? He goes back to the other side. So he's going through. This is one of the plays where you can go through the entire field. It's not there. I think that was pretty much 1-2, go. So this is something that we're seeing too that is different from last season. It was a ton of, hey, it's one side that you're reading for the most part, 1-2 go on one side. But every now and then we would throw some plays like this in there where you can read the full field. So that's what we're seeing here. And it's also could have been a situation where maybe Jake said, hey, I've got one-on-one coverage here, so I'm looking there first. That trumps everything. If you ever see one-on-one coverage and you like how that matchup looks, you're going to try to go there first. So either way, you see that Jake does a really good job with his clock. He says, okay, 1 read, 2 reads basically, and now I've got to start to move. So he starts to move. He does have a guy here. That's Travis Smith that he could have thrown the football to. I'm not mad at him here. I'm definitely not. Hey, let's just be safe. Let's get a couple of yards and let's keep it moving. Let's go on to that next play. So I'm not going to be overly critical with that, right? But I am showing you where some of the misses could possibly be. Now, right here, okay, we've got another one of those situations. This is a comeback. Looking over here at it, you've got a guy underneath it. So this is very similar to maybe like a couple of plays ago, right? Where Jake is able to layer this football, but it was because that was a linebacker and he was closer to the line of scrimmage. Now you've got a safety and he's closer to your wide receiver. So this is a very difficult pass, right? Very, very difficult, but he decides to throw it anyway. And that actually was probably, relatively catchable, but it could have been catchable for the defense too. So you just have to be very careful with it. Right here, this is Boo Carter. Okay, this is him on a slant, actually going up against Caleb Beasley playing at star. So this is how Boo Carter looks. For those of y'all that haven't already seen this type of stuff, this is how he looks, playing at wide receiver. Now, that ball was thrown low, but you got to make those catches. So I think Boo's going to be fine with that moving forward. I'm not putting that on Jake by any means. He threw it where he had to throw it just to keep it out of harm's way. Now, right here, this is one of those combinations. This is one of those choice routes where, there's the first guy. That's the first read. Then you have the second read. So you have the first guy. He's the one who's really running the actual choice route. The second guy is running something to give spacing for that choice route. So this is how it looks. Now you're seeing that the running back's coming out of the backfield, going out to the flats. He's actually open. But, we're really just reading two things here. So you don't have time to get to that. And obviously, that looks like the football was thrown away. So now let's see what we have right here. This is another one of those situations where you're going to ride that handoff, just like we talked about with George. You're going to ride it and make the defense bite up. And now you've got your tight end coming out on another pretty much, pop pass, just dump it off to him. Very accurate, very catchable. Let him make a play. Love that. I love those wrinkles inside of our offense. That's going to help us out in a major way. So right here, you're seeing that he's looking over to that side, to the right side. Like we talked about, man, that is, that's another one of those choice routes. Okay, so that's all covered up. You can see that that's covered up. You come back to this left side. You have a guy that looks like he's probably open. Now, we can't see the full field, but it looks like there's some room here. You can make this throw. This is a throw that I think can be made. It's just going to get sailed. So it's going to happen sometimes. I would expect that he's going to get more accurate as we get closer to the season. He's not going to miss on everything. So right here, again, seeing him stepping up into the pocket. The offensive line is doing a really, really good job of giving him a pocket to step up into, but he keeps his eyes down the field, just like George sees a guy on a dig, right? That's a well-thrown ball. It's a little bit behind him, but that's still good. All right, so on to this next one. And this is, this was, one of those option routes. We're just kind of trying to, throw the defense off with. Tennessee loves to run those wide receiver quick screens. So giving them some different looks, saying, hey, man, we can do different things from it. And we'll actually go back to it so that you can see this again. This is off of a run pass option. So, giving them some different looks. I absolutely love that. I think that pass was thrown in a good spot. Now, right here, what we have is the offensive line is going to slide to the right, okay, which means that they're going to move like one gap over to their right side, and the defense is bringing a blitz from the left side. This happens a lot. Okay, this happens a lot. So I don't know how much the quarterback can change, where the offensive line slides. That I think that's on the center. But either way, we're seeing that this is a situation where let me go back. So here, I'm actually going to let it go a little bit further. So right here, I think that Jake saw, hey, man, there's some pressure coming, right? Like he saw that the pressure is coming from that left side. He doesn't have the people over there to pick up everybody that is coming. So he looks over to his right. He's trying to find something, which things pop open, but they pop open way too late, right? Like this is way too late. He's got to either throw this thing now, which actually maybe he could have done. Do this inside of actual game. So I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. So this guy right here, he actually does pop open. And, you only throw that, like I said, in a game situation, in a practice situation, you might not want to throw it, but just because you don't want to take the chance of getting hit and getting hurt. So he rolls out of there. I'm not mad at it. I think he's able to get outside of things, and he gets us a couple yards. So you just got to try to make a little something happen. Like we don't have anybody that's a super, super duper rusher with the football, playing a quarterback now. So either way, we're seeing that the plays getting changed here, right? Changing it. He doesn't really have to say too much. He might be saying something we can't see, but it doesn't like he's giving any gestures. So the outside guys know what the heck is going on. And so here, this is just a really, really quick, almost like a hot read. He's going to try to throw it to Ethan Davis here. And Ethan Davis is actually open. We've highlighted this. That's the guy with the arrow coming from him. That's Tyler Redmond. He does a great job coming off of his guy, making a play on this football. I think that was the right place where Jake went to, right? Because that was an RPO, it looked like. So would you hand it off there? No. Again, let me go back and show you why you wouldn't. Okay. Let me go back and show you why. So you're not going to hand this off because of how the box looks, number one. I mean, you maybe could have, but at the same time, you got better numbers on the outside because Ethan Davis is uncovered. So that's why, that's part of the processing. That would be kind of like that. I wouldn't really call that processing. Like for me, processing is once you get to, hey, we've got three different options or more. That's what I would call processing. If it's, hey, either do this or that, the processing is already built in. It's like, hey, if this is not there, then that should be there. If that's not there, then you're just gonna run. So this is a situation. This is the pick that Jake threw. We've got 4 verts here. I don't know how much this was based off of the options or what, but we got 4 verts. You can see that safety's playing in the middle of the field right here. Jake just stares it down. Okay, if you know where you want to go pre-snap, we all know this. You got to look the other way, which he's done a good job in a lot of these clips, but right here doesn't do the best job. So you see now the safety's going to read his eyes and he's going over. So you have to be able to hold safeties, especially if you're throwing it deep and you have that one high look. So that's where the pick came from. Something that Pete pointed out before was, hey, the pass was actually accurate. Yeah, it would have been accurate. If the safety wasn't there, it probably would have got caught. So right here, this is a skinny post. Okay, skinny post is something that Tennessee has not run a lot of. I mean, I don't know how many times we've run this since Heupel's been here. I could probably count on like a couple fingers, So adding some wrinkles, love it. And this ball, I think, is accurate. Really good play by the defense there. Maybe you could call PI. And see, that's the other part of it is whenever you throw passes down the field, it's quick. That was 3-step drop. Boom, boom, boom. I'm throwing it. We got guys open. You got a guy that might be hanging on his back. The referees might call it or they might not. But that's like I would call that almost like a 75-25 in favor of our offense because you got a 50-50 chance of catching it. But then you got the 25% chance on top of it that the refs might throw a penalty. You know what I'm saying? That you might get that PI call. So I've been begging for that. I've been begging for that for the longest. I'm glad to see it. 1, 2, 3, just throw it down the daggum field. So here, what we're seeing is that's another one of those choice routes, right? So that's the first read that's marked as number 1. Then the second read is number 2. They're both covered up in this situation. Jake needs to start running because as y'all can see on the bottom side, the wide receivers aren't doing anything. There's no other reads. That's how this offense works. No other reads. One of those guys is supposed to be there. You got to get out. Okay, so you have to run it. And what Jake does here that I actually like if he gets outside the pocket is he throws it away. Is he outside the pocket there? I think he's close. So in some of these situations, man, like in some of these bigger games, he's going to have to make something happen with his legs. Again, this is an orange and white game, so we don't know would he do that or not. Now here, really, really quickly, he's going to look things off. He looks over to his right, comes back to his left. I think you already knew where he was going pre-snap. That's his guy. Sees, hey, there's a big window here for me to throw this. And watch how accurate this is. Good zip. Boom. That's beautiful. That's 6 points. So love to see it, man. This is also Jake. And it looks like here, that's just another one of those kind of like flood concepts. You just dump it off. Has to be accurate. And on this one, you can see where the 2 reads are, okay? The first one is the slant to the inside. The second one, I think, would have been the outside guy more than likely. Looks like he is open. I mean, that's a pass that you might want to throw, okay? That on that kind of like dig. And so let me go back. And so what he's going to do, I'm going to try to take it all the way back to the start of it because there was one part that I didn't talk about, but that's critical. So here, boom, you can see that what I also have highlighted is 1, 2, if you feel like it's not there, then you need to be running, okay? Yes, it looks like maybe there's some players on defense that might be close, but you got to do something. You can't stand here on these types of routes and not, get outside of the pocket. But either way, he's going to figure it out kind of late. Might have got sacked there, and he's able to throw the football out of bounds. He doesn't find anybody. So we're seeing that happen a lot. Jake's the guy that he's going to try to take the most care of the football, but he's probably going to make the least amount of plays for you. So that's the trade-off, I would say, just based off of this. Jake might be, just based off of this orange and white game. Jake might be more of the game manager, just from what we've seen up to this point. So now, the play got changed. We're looking at it here. That's on the right tackle. I think that's Brian Grant that just pretty much gets beat off of the snap. You can see that none of the wide receivers can even get to the top of their routes. They can't even get into their breaks, and the pressure's already there. So he's taking this sack, and that's really not on him. You would like for him to be able to feel it, but that's really not on him. So now we're getting into Joey Aguilar, and for me, we've already broken down film on him so many times. So we broke down his passing game, his fundamentals. We broke down him as a scrambler and all that. So these are just highlights. These are just his highlights. This is him versus Clemson. You can see that he is mobile. I think he's accurate while he's mobile for the most part. You can see it again from this end zone angle. This is a really, really good pass. And we're about to get into the grades for everybody here in just a minute. There, you're seeing some good pocket presence. His pocket presence isn't always great. He wants to stand in there, I think, too long for Tennessee system, but he's not running Tennessee system with App State. So we'll see how much does that change. I'm not huge on inside of our system. Hey, quarterback needs to stand in there. That's a daggum dot. That's a beautiful pass. And we'll actually go back to this. 1, 2, 3, throw it. He's not afraid. He's a gunslinger. It don't matter if the guy looks like he's there. He's going to trust his wide receivers to make those plays. Here you're seeing him on a read option where he pulls it. You're seeing he's got a little bit of speed there, right? There, again, he's throwing that one deep. We'll see it again from the end zone. I think that's versus Eastern Carolina. Just a very, very well-placed football. I don't know how legal that catch was, but the point is that throw was on point. And here, just kind of seeing him moving around. So he's got a little bit of wheels. He's got a very strong arm. I'd say he's very accurate. And so those are the things that I love about him. Obviously, he's played more football than both of the guys that are in this room. Look at how well placed that football was, man. You had to love it because that's one of the things that Tennessee's offense was missing, right? Like last year for, maybe like the last couple of years, we weren't hitting on those deep balls as much as we could have. You know what I'm saying? And that it wasn't just from the quarterbacks, it was also from the wide receivers not making the catches. So one of the things that we have to look forward to, or I think that we can look forward to, is the wide receivers actually making more catches this season. Even though these guys are young, I think that they're dogs and, they take a lot of personal pride. So here, watching them running here. So this is a safety. All right, I think that's Coastal Carolina. You see how flush that safety just tackles him here? So, tackles him flush, takes him down. One of the things that I talked about with Joey is he's a little bit of a bigger guy, so you think, hey, maybe he could run through some people. In some situations, yes, but I just think on this level because, the players are already big. They're already strong. And he's not bringing that much speed with his weight. They're going to be bringing a lot more speed with their weight, even if it's less weight. So obviously physics tells you that they're probably going to be winning that battle, and he's not going to make you miss too much. But he can lower his shoulder and get you some tough yards sometimes, right? So I wanted to make sure that I pointed that out as well. Kind of seeing the same thing there. What I like that was different, though, is he's falling forward. So keep in mind, that's a, lower level of competition. I just don't, I'm not quite sure how much the, mobile part of his game is going to translate once he gets to the SEC. But look at this pass here. That's gorgeous. That's absolutely freaking gorgeous. So that's it for the film session, y'all. And now what I want to do is go on ahead and jump into the grades that I pulled up, okay? So I put these grades together, and I have a few categories. So I've got arm strength, I've got accuracy, pocket presence, I've got, how mobile are these quarterbacks? I have how much actual game experience, like actual college experience do they have? And then I have their overall grades. So Jake's going to be the guy that's in orange, George is in black, and Joey is in gray. Now, there's a couple of things that I didn't throw in here, and I wanted to make sure that I talked about it. So number one, I'm not throwing in, their understanding of Tennessee's offense because I feel like it's not that complicated of an offense to learn. And Joey Aguilar's coming in. Obviously, he's already here. He's been looking at our stuff. He probably already knows all of the play calls. He probably already knows Tennessee's offense. That's how simple it is. I don't think it takes long just to learn it. What takes more time, though, is getting on the same page with your wide receivers. And we know that these guys are already on their summer breaks. So he's not going to have that opportunity just yet, but they should be up, I think, like in a week or two. So as soon as they come up, I would expect that they're all going to be out there because, look, man, George and Jake, they're not just going to let Joey Aguilar get all the reps with the wide receivers. So I would have to anticipate with the open competition, everybody's out there working. So that's a very positive thing. But once Joey gets that part of it, he's going to be, which I don't think is going to come easy. That's going to be the more difficult part. But once he gets that, he's going to be pretty much caught up. Just the actual learning of the offense, I wanted to make sure that I said that. That's not going to be difficult. So I didn't even throw that into this. The other thing that I didn't throw in here is processing, because as we touched on throughout this entire film breakdown, the processing is a total non-factor. It's really built into the offense. And I think that all these guys have you have to have some type of football savviness and football understanding. But these guys, again, if you've played pretty much high school football, you should understand how the processing works, for our quarterbacks inside of the system. So either way, y'all can see that the strongest arm, I gave that to GMAC. I think that he does have the strongest arm. And then I had Joey in second place, and then I had Jake in third place. And as far as the accuracy goes, I had Jake as the most accurate guy. I had Joey as the second most, and then I have George as the third most. Now, y'all can see it's not a whole lot of separation for most of this stuff, okay? And actually, what I'll do is I could scroll this up just a little bit so that y'all can see how the overall grades play out. We can go up there for just a minute as we're moving on down. So pocket presence, I gave that to Joey Aguilar. So I've got him at an 89, and then I've got GMAC. Actually, I had him higher. I had him at an 85, and then I had Jake at an 84. The reason for that is I think that GMAC, it was a problem for him last season because his offensive line in high school really wasn't that great. So I think that his clock is sped up. And in some offenses, like if it's a pro style offense, that might not be the best thing. But inside of our offense, that's a great thing. Your clock needs to be quick. It's 1, 2, and then go. If the first two reads aren't there for the most part, you have to go. So I feel like George has more of that than Jake has. So that's the reason that I have it. It's still close, but that's the reason that I played it out that way. As far as who's the most mobile, I have GMAC. Now, one of the things that I also want to point out here, y'all, is I am looking at about where I think they're going to be by the time the season kicks off. So talking about them being mobile, it's not just about their speed. It's also about the wiggle, but it's also about, will the coaches let you run? Like, are you big enough to hold up physically in the SEC? Because we saw last season, felt like early on, man, the coaches was not going to let Nico run. They said, man, look, we don't really want you running too much. And if you run, we want you getting down quick, because I guess they were scared that he was going to get hurt. Now, George and Nico have very similar frames, but I do think that George is going to add 15 to 20 pounds before the season starts. I think that he's going to put that work in, and if he does, that would definitely make him the most mobile quarterback. As far as looking at Jake versus Joey, they're about the same size, right? So they're both at about 6'3" or 6'4", 220-ish pounds. Now, Joey might be a little bit bigger right now, but I think that once we get to the season, Jake is probably going to be about 220, 225. So they're going to be very close to the same size. But I think that Jake, he has better legs. Like, he's a better runner. He's more mobile. So that's why it looks the way that it does. Wanted to make sure that I broke that part of it down. So I do have George as the most mobile guy. And then just as far as, man, actual game experience. Obviously, we all know that Joey Aguilar is going to have a lot more than either one of these guys. I've got him at an 87. And the reason for it is he's played up against some Power 4 level competition, but not every single game. So while he does have a lot more, playing time and all that, he's had way more burn. It's different on this level. So that's why I kind of, it's not as big of a gap as some people might have thought that this could have been. But I mean, shoot, like both of these guys, they've really spent more time in the SEC than Joey has up to this point. But once we get up to the start of the season, obviously some of that stuff's going to even out just a taste. But obviously, man, you have to put Joey at number 1 right there. And it's a big enough margin that it's going to make a big difference. So last thing, man, is the overall. This is where everything comes into play. And I did not do this on purpose. I went through the grades and I almost, I went back to, I was like, shoot, should I try to change something? But I've got Jake and I've got George actually tied in 82. You know what I'm saying? I actually have them tied. So that, again, that's just the way things ended up playing out. And then obviously we've got Joey at an 85 overall. So I think that he's better. Most of that's just because he's played more. And it's not, to me, so much based off of the skill set. If we're talking about the highest floor, and I don't know if I would say the lowest ceiling, but the highest floor definitely goes to Joey. And, the lowest floor, I would put that with GMAC. But I also would say that GMAC probably has the highest ceiling. Just because GMAC, to me, is such a baller. If you put him out there with an extra 20 pounds, really, shoot, if he could gain 25 pounds, 25, 30 pounds, which would, that would be almost, I don't know if that's going to happen, but I'm just saying, if it did happen, I mean, he would be the guy that I would probably lean more towards, hey, I want him to start, even though he is just a freshman. Now, looking at this from a very realistic standpoint, Coach Heupel more than likely is not going to start GMAC. Why? Because if he does that this season, then Jake Merklinger is going to leave. Okay, I think that we all know that. He's going to leave. So while everyone's going to say, hey, this is a very open competition, I don't think that that's 100% true. Obviously, if GMAC comes out and he just looks like, man, he's about to win the daggum Heisman. Yeah, I mean, you have to play him. And if Jake leaves, then Jake just leaves, right? But you feel fine with it because if he does that as a true freshman, the next year, you've got a really, really high ceiling. But either way, I think that it's really a competition between Joey Aguilar, who I feel like the staff wants to win the job because he's the older guy, and he's played more football, and I think Merk, obviously. So we'll see how all that plays out. But those are my thoughts, man. Y'all please share your thoughts with me on this whole quarterback battle down in the comments section. And as always, please do make sure to like and subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks. Peace. Thanks for watching, and please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel because that keeps us growing inside of the YouTube algorithm. And if you did like this video, here's another one that you might also enjoy. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.